Greetings everyone, this is Rob Sanders from Simply-Learn, and today we're going to talk about how to rank #1 on Google. So let's get started, and let's go with the scenario that you have a friend named Sam and he has a website where he sells shoes. But Sam doesn't understand why his website's not ranking #1 on Google. And so typically, to rank #1 on Google, there are some factors involved. And those are factors that are going to help Sam get his website ranked #1 on Google so he can sell his shoes, get traffic, and convert that traffic to conversions. So there are factors involved. And so what are those factors? Well, it always starts with keyword research. So in order to rank for a website where you sell shoes or you sell products, other products like clothing or food, or you're an automobile website, you're a mechanic, it doesn't matter whether you're selling to customers or selling to other businesses. You have to start with the keyword research. And so we're going to go into really explicit detail on how to conduct a proper keyword research. And then the second factor involved is high quality content. So in order to rank high on Google search, you need to have high quality content. So we're going to go over what's involved with creating high quality content. Then we're going to take that content, we're going to optimize it using on-page elements and website level factors. So we're going to take into account what's involved with your website and what's involved with specific pages on your website in order to rank #1 on Google. Then we're going to get into the off-site engagement. So when it comes to ranking on Google, you need to optimize your website and you need to do some elements off your website. You need to be engaging off your website, meaning on other websites. And so we're going to talk about what's involved with off-site engagement. So SEO being a major channel for most companies and websites where the opportunity to drive a lot of traffic is there. But you have to earn that reward. The reward is a lot of traffic, but you have to earn the reward, and there's a lot of work involved. And so ideally, what we want to do is follow what we call the 80-20 rule when it comes to search engine optimization and ranking on Google. And what do we mean by the 80-20 rule? Well, 80-20 means we're investing 20% of our effort and 80% of the results are obtained. So we want to invest 20 and get back 80. That's basically what we mean by 80-20. So, for example, if 20% of our targeted keywords bring in 80% of the traffic, then that's following the 80-20 rule. Or 20% of our landing pages drive 80% of the overall traffic, that's following the 80-20 rule. Or 20% of our backlinks pass 80% of our link juice. That's the 80-20 rule. Meaning these targeted keywords, these targeted landing pages, these trying to target backlinks using off-site engagement. We want to put in 20% of our effort on those keywords, landing pages, and backlinks in return for 80% of the results. So without further ado, let's get started with the keyword research. Let's talk about that keyword research for a website with shoes. And it doesn't really matter what particular product you have. If you need to rank #1 on Google, it all starts with the keywords as I mentioned before. And so in this example, if you have a website where you sell shoes for kids, you're going to want to be found for certain keywords. So the obvious keyword here would be shoes for kids. Well, every keyword that you target has search volume associated with it. So that means when we talk about search volume, we're talking about how many people on average type in that keyword or related keyword on Google.com or Google search. And there's always an average number of searches associated with every keyword, and we call that search volume. How much search volume? So obviously if we're going to target a keyword, we want to have as much volume as possible. However, there's always going to be competition for those keywords, meaning there's always going to be other websites who want to rank #1 on Google for the same keywords. And we call that competition or difficulty. So for every keyword, you're going to have volume and you're going to have competition or difficulty. And the difficulty ranges as well, depending on the tool you use. And we'll get into that in a minute. But Search volume is how much on average people are typing in that keyword or close variants of that keyword. And the difficulty is measured in terms of how many other websites are trying to rank for the same keyword. And so ideally, when it comes to keyword research, we want to find that nice balance. We want high volume and we want low competition. But at the same time, we want to focus on keywords that are highly relevant to our business. So if we're selling shoes for kids and shoes for kids is highly relevant, has high volume and low competition, then that's a keyword we want to target. So we always want to focus in on those three areas. So there's always a trade-off with keywords. So shoes for kids might have high volume, but also might have high competition or difficulty. If we look for another keyword that's just as relevant, for example, shoes for children, it may still have high search volume, but the competition or the difficulty may be lower. And if that's the case, then that may be a better keyword for us to target. Instead of something highly competitive like shoes for kids, we can focus on another relevant keyword like shoes for children with just as much volume and lower competition. And the reason why we want lower competition is because we want to be able to rank for that keyword. So the higher the competition, the harder it is for us to rank number one on Google for that keyword. And so the whole idea behind keyword research is analyzing and choosing the best keywords. So we want to identify a list of keywords that are always relevant. We want to choose the keyword that your competitors are ranking for. And we want to use third-party tools to choose keywords to identify which keywords have low competition and what keywords have high search volume. So one thing to take into consideration when you're doing keyword research is that the longer the keyword phrase, or in other words, long tail keywords or keywords with 3 keywords in the phrase or more, you're going to always have less competition. But there's always a trade-off. With long tail keywords, meaning the longer the keyword phrase, there's going to be less volume, but the trade-off is less competition. And so what we want to do is we want to brainstorm some ideas and find those relevant keywords. So let's look at an example here. So if we go to Google Ads, so Google Ads has a tool called Keyword Planner. And let's just say I have a website where I'm selling dried figs. And if I'm selling dried figs, I want people to buy these dried figs. However, in order to attract them, I want to be able to show them that, hey, we have a bunch of recipes. And if I show you a bunch of recipes where you can use dried figs, maybe you'll buy these dried figs to use in these recipes. And so we're going to look for keywords related to bread recipes, because if we can optimize for our recipes page for bread, then that will attract an audience who wants to make bread and use dried figs with those bread recipes. So that's the example I'm going to give here. And so if I look at the keyword planner in Google Ads, if I just type in bread recipes, what Google is going to do is they're going to give me an average monthly search volume. So I can see the average monthly search volume here is 60,500. And so in order to do keyword research, what I would recommend is keep a spreadsheet. And so the idea behind the spreadsheet is to document the volume and the competition you're getting for certain keywords. So if I go into a spreadsheet, here, my theme of keywords is bread recipes. My keyword is bread recipes, and my volume, therefore, is going to be 60,500. However, if I go back into Google's keyword planner, Google's telling me the competition is low. So that's great. I want high volume, I want low competition. But how low is low? So we want to be careful. So if we're going to put in numbers into a spreadsheet, we want to figure out what that competition really is for the keyword bread recipes. So if I go to Google and just type in bread recipes, I'm going to be able to see 771 billion results for the keyword bread recipes. Now, is 771 billion our real competition? Maybe, maybe not. What we want to do is put in a syntax, and we want to put in the syntax all in title and then colon, space, and then our keyword. And the reason why we do that in search is because we want to be able to identify the true competitive number, or the true number of websites who are trying to rank for bread recipes. And if we put in the syntax all in title, colon, and then our keyword bread recipes, we'll be able to see that there are 998,000 results. That's a lot lower than 771 billion. So that means that 998,000 sites or listings have the keyword bread recipes in the title tag. And the title tag is what shows up in the search engine results. And so if I look down and scroll down here, I can see bread recipes are in every one of these title tags. So title tag is an important element to rank number one on Google, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But if we understand that there are 998,000 results with bread recipes in the title tag, then this tells us that those are the websites who are trying to rank number one on Google for that keyword, and therefore those are the websites we need to jump over in order for our website to rank number one on Google. And so therefore I'm going to put in 998,000 in my spreadsheet as the competitive number. And so now I could see for the keyword bread recipes, I have 60,500, and if my competition is 998,000, then my KEI, or keyword effectiveness index, or in other words, the ratio of volume to competition, is 6%. So that's nothing more than volume divided by competition. So that tells me that my KEI, or my ratio between volume and competition, is 6%. So remember, we want more volume than we want competition. So anytime you do a keyword research, you're going to find a number of different relevant keywords. So if I go back into Google's keyword planner, if I typed in bread recipes, you could see that Google is going to give me a number of different keywords related to bread recipes. Let's just say I have another keyword that I want to think about optimizing for, being ranked on Google for, and that's banana bread recipe. Very similar keyword as bread recipes, except it's a little longer tail. Now, if I type in banana bread recipe in Google's keyword planner, now I can see the average monthly search volume has actually gone up. It's 368,000. I can also see the competition is low. So those are good signs. So now I can see 368,000. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my spreadsheet. Now I'm going to go into Google. I'm going to put in my syntax all in title. I'm going to put in banana bread recipe. I'm going to hit enter. And now I can see I have 233,000 results with the keyword banana bread recipe in the title tag. So if I look at the title tags, I can see banana bread recipe, banana bread recipe, banana bread recipe on all the listings in the Google search results. So that tells me I have 233,000 results that I have to jump over in order to rank number one on Google. So I'm going to put 233,000 in my spreadsheet. Now I can see my KEI, or my volume to competition ratio, is 158%. And so to me, that's a lot better number to work with, or in other words, that's a lot better keyword because it's just as relevant and it has a higher ratio of volume to competition. So therefore, banana bread recipe is going to be a better keyword to optimize for in order to rank number one on Google. So that's the whole idea behind keyword research. You want to brainstorm ideas. There are plenty of tools out there. So the tool I recommend is Google Ads Keyword Planner. Google's going to give you how much search volume. They're going to tell you the competition, but then you're going to go into Google search. You're going to use the syntax all in title to get a more accurate read on the actual competitive number. And so to find out how keywords that your competitors are ranking for, you can use those keyword tools that I mentioned. Another tool that I use is Moz. So Moz, if you go to moz.com, they have a tool called Keyword Explorer. So if we just type in the keyword, for example, bread recipes, It's going to be able to tell us how much volume and the difficulty. So you can use other tools at your disposal. Figure out the volume and the difficulty. There are plenty of tools out there. But the one thing I would just make sure is you use everything at your disposal. So you can use social media to find the most shared article for a particular topic or keyword, like bread recipes. You could check other platforms that have a lot of shared content like Reddit and Quora, where you can ask people about certain topics using keywords to figure out how much competition or volume there might be. You could stay up to date on industry news to get an idea of what types of keywords are trending. But when it comes to keywords and keyword research, remember, for every web page, we want to be able to pick two keywords. We want a primary and secondary keyword. So when we do keyword research and we enter all our keywords into our spreadsheet, we want to be able to have a number of different keywords. In this case, we're focusing on the theme bread recipes. We want to have different keywords because we want to be able to choose a primary keyword and a secondary keyword, because we want to be able to focus on multiple keywords for each page, because we don't want to put necessarily all our eggs in one basket, meaning we won't want to put all our emphasis just on one keyword to rank for. We want multiple keywords to try and rank for. So the primary keyword can define the nature of our business. The secondary keyword could be just highly relevant to our keyword. At the end of the day, we want to choose multiple keywords to try and rank on Google for that page. So for example, we have a blog and we're using ice cream recipes and we're blogging about ice cream recipes. We can have a primary keyword that is about ice cream recipes or homemade ice cream recipes. We're going to always want to find out what the volume and the competition is. Our secondary keyword could be built around other similar keywords like low-fat ice cream recipes or fat-free ice cream recipes or low-fat homemade ice cream recipes. Those are complementary keywords, just like our bread recipes and banana bread recipe. So one thing we want to do when we do keyword research is we want to be able to target one keyword per content when you can target many. We want to be able to target multiple keywords, not necessarily target one keyword. And so we want to be able to cluster keywords. So we don't want to target just one, we want to target multiple keywords per page. And when we talk about clustering, if we go back to our keyword research, what we're doing is we're clustering a bunch of keywords under the theme bread recipes. And so by looking at the volume, looking at the competition, looking at the KEI, we can choose different keywords for our page. And that's what we mean by clustering. We want to cluster keywords into a content theme. So why target only one keyword per content when we can target many? Because we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. We don't want to target just one keyword. We want to target many. And so that means clustering your keywords into a theme and choosing multiple keywords for that particular page. And when we do that, we have a better opportunity to rank high on Google search. And the whole idea behind ranking high on Google search is we can get the volume. So if we know we're ranked number 1 on Google search for bread recipes or banana bread recipe, we know we stand a chance of getting a majority of the volume associated with that keyword. And if we can get the volume and get the traffic, then we can get the conversions. So let's move on to high quality content and talk about the impact content has on your ability to get your website ranked number 1 on Google. So let's just say you have content on your website and the content is ranking on page 4 of Google. And it's that blog with ice cream recipes. And if it's just content for the sake of content, it's not really informative, then it's not necessarily going to get good engagement. In the eyes of Google, they want to rank content that's very informative, it's very fresh, it's exciting to read, it's interesting. It's going to have good engagement. So if it's a recipe or an article about any topic, if the content is just not informative, then you're not going to get good engagement. And when you don't get good engagement, if people don't stay on the site to engage in the content and they just leave the website after landing on the page, causing a bounce, then the content is just going to continue to fall down the rankings. And we want to prevent that. We want to move up the rankings. We want to be number one on Google. We don't necessarily want to fall in the rankings for our content. So content is a key driver in being able to rank number one on Google. So if the content is on page 9, what can we do? Well, we want to be able to, take that content and do something with it. We feel like we did write engaging content, so let's go ahead and share it on social media. And to me, social media is a good platform to share your content, because on social media platforms like Facebook, for example, you're building a community on that platform. That community is already interested in your content. So if you're sharing an ice cream recipe, especially in the summertime, and you're engaging with your community on that platform, then the likelihood of that community on that platform is going to increase engagement. Increased engagement will send social signals to the search engine that says, hey, this content is good quality. Likewise for any other platform. Most social media platforms have engagement metrics, and those engagement metrics pass signals. Is it good? Is it not good? Do we like this content? Are we giving it a thumbs up? Are we going to want to follow it? Are we going to want to share it? And so if you share content that you feel is engaging on social platforms, then it's going to be engaging, and it's likely going to cause an increase in engagement. For example, a decrease in bounces. And once you share that quality content, then the likelihood of it moving up the rankings, even as far as number one on Google, is going to be greater. So you always want to start out writing good quality content. So let's talk about good quality content, because Google does take content seriously. They do take into account what other people think of that content. So high quality content is an important factor. So how to create good content? That's always the question. So let's talk about some best practices here. Remember, in the last segment, we talked about keyword research. So we want to perform good keyword research. Why? Because we want to choose keywords. Remember, we're choosing multiple keywords per page. One keyword could be related to our brand. One keyword could be related to the content, but another keyword could be related to a user's intent, like recipes. If you recall the example we used with bread recipes, maybe somebody's looking to type in a keyword that says, how do I make, a bread? Or how do I make a specific type of bread? Or how do I make banana bread? Or what's the best recipe for banana bread? They're question related, and we want to be able to answer those questions. So that's where choosing those right keywords that's going to respond to a user's intent. So starts with choosing the right keywords. So remember, we talked about a number of different tools when we talked about keyword research. So there's a research tool that you can use called phrase.io, and that will help you do quick research on, keywords and trends and whatnot. So if you know a better research tool that you use for keyword research, then drop us a comment below. I'd be interested in getting your comments about keyword research and what research tools are out there. So if you know something better than phrase.io, drop a comment below, and we'd be interested in getting your perspective. So keyword research is key, but creating content that fulfills users' requirements. So answering those questions. If it's a recipe, we want to answer that question. If it's directions, we want to answer that question. If they don't know how to do something, we want to answer that question. And that's the whole idea behind content. Content is not just to fill a page, it's to really fulfill users' requirements. That's when you get good engagement. So if somebody's typing in something on Google and they're looking for an answer, your content should answer that question. But we also want to make the content readable. So in other words, write for your audience. Don't impress anybody with very high vocabulary type words that somebody doesn't necessarily know the meaning of. Don't use jargon. Don't use a street language, for example. Use everyday common language that's just easily digestible when your audience is reading. And then we want to keep that content organized. And so when we mean organized, we want to use headers and subheaders. Break your content into paragraphs. Keep the flow organized. If we can keep the flow organized, then it's going to be easier for somebody to read. And then it's okay to add resources, especially resources from credible sites. So if you can incorporate those resources in there, then it's just going to add the credibility to your content and let the audience know that, hey, I've done my research on this topic, and this is what this person has to say about it. This person who seems to be credible. Okay, so it only adds value to your content. So these are all tips to remember when creating content. And then the one important tip here is we want to use white hat techniques. And when we say white hat techniques, that means, if we've chosen keywords that are going to answer somebody's question, we don't want to stuff those keywords into the content. We want the content to be naturally written. So when we say opt for white hat techniques, that's what we mean. Write the content naturally. Keep it organized, keep it readable, include third-party sources, and make sure it answers a question. So there are different types of content. So there's content where you just write words. It's all text-based. You could also use an infographic. An infographic is simply just a graphic that visualizes exactly what you're trying to explain. For example, if we want to write an article about how to write good, engaging content, we don't necessarily have to write all that out as a text. We can create an infographic. So for example, here's an infographic on 20 effective ways to basically not bore your readers, but write engaging content. So you could see this is an infographic. It's all graphically laid out. So infographics tend to be easier to understand because they're visual. They're easy for the end user to comprehend because there's generally no jargon. It's usually images that are portraying the point of what you're trying to get across. And so it tends to break it up, the monotony of just text. It's more visually appealing, and it's laid out and organized. So you can see this infographic has 20 different steps or rules, and they lay those out all here in this infographic. And the great thing I like about infographics is you could share them on social media. You can re-engage them as a post. You could save them on really any social platform. So infographics tend to tell a better story versus, say, just writing text. You can use video and images, so you don't necessarily have to lay it all out in an infographic. You can certainly insert a video or an image into your content, especially if it's a blog post. If it's a blog post, then sometimes video and images on its own tell the story. You don't necessarily need text to go ahead and tell your story. A video or an image, as they say, tells 1,000 words. And so images and videos are great to use in a blog post. So using different forms of content, you always want to review your content. When a user dwells on your webpage for a longer time, Google will tend to think, okay, this person's engaged, so we're going to rank that favorably. So if you're using infographics, videos, and images, then the chances of somebody being more engaged are going to increase versus just text that's not well organized and written out in a way that somebody doesn't necessarily understand. So be creative in the types of content you use. So longer engaging content tends to bode well with search engines. So this is according to HubSpot. So the more word count you use, the more words you use, the chances of you ranking higher are going to be better. Just take into account best practices. You want to maybe break up the content with an image, organize it, make it engaging, use headers. So it's not necessarily just words, it's the words and how those words are written, how they're structured, the types of keywords you're using, how you're engaging with your audience. There's a lot of factors, again, those best practices we just went over. But the key is, if you have longer, more engaging content, then it's going to bode better for you on search engines. So a couple of steps to create high quality content. So you want to begin with a comprehensive introduction. So always introduce your content. Remember, the content should be relevant to the keywords. So if you're choosing keywords in your keyword research, think about answering that question. If somebody's typing in bread recipes, maybe they're looking for banana bread recipes. How to make the best banana bread, or how to make banana bread using dried figs. We want to be able to align our content with that keyword naturally. You want to create a title that's worthy, that's click-worthy. So remember, if you're in Google search and you're doing search for something simple like bread recipes, we want to make something that's going to be, engaging for somebody to click on, like easy perfect yeast bread or easy crusty French bread, or something that's going to be engaging. The best bread recipes, or how to make the best homemade bread. Something that's going to draw somebody's attention to the title of that blog post. So we want to include LSI keywords. So what I mean by LSI keywords in your content, we mean, long tail keywords. Make it natural. Headings and subheadings should consist of keywords and variants. So if you're writing headers and subheaders, include the keyword in there. And that way, the content always stays relevant to the audience. Okay, shorten your sentences and paragraphs, so don't write long paragraphs. Remember, we want to break this up. We want to make it easy for the end user to read. And we want to always put internal links on our blog post. Why? Because if we have internal links, then if we have a link from one blog post to another blog post, or say our blog post to an internal page on our website, we want to make sure that it's relevant content. That way, if somebody's reading something and you have an internal link, let's just say from a bread recipes page to a banana bread recipes page, then they may find it interesting, click on that link and go to the banana bread recipes page. So it's keeping somebody engaged on your website. So putting in internal linking will help keep the end user engaged, because you're offering up links that's relevant to the content. You always want to break up that content with images. Okay, we want to use alt tags, meaning we want to pen the image with text, so that way if the image doesn't load, then at least the alt text will load. So we can incorporate call out boxes, and more importantly, we want to update our content regularly. So we always want to get the best recipe out there if it's banana bread, or different ways to create banana bread, or always just coming up with ways to update the content. So we want to keep our content, our blog post, fresh. And then we want to include a CTA, call to action. If we include a call to action, then that's going to keep somebody engaged and have them act on your content. So these are steps to creating high quality content. And so let's look at an example here. And this is a 3-month-old post on BuzzFeed. And it's 21 pictures that restore your faith in humanity. So it has a lot of likes, a lot of tweets, and that means it's engaged. People are engaged when reading that. And so if we go and look at it as an example, we can see it on BuzzFeed here, 21 pictures that will restore your faith in humanity. So this was written back in 2012. Again, a lot of engagement. But if we look at it, we can see immediately that it's taking into account third-party sources. It's got some content, it's got images, it's being broken up by images. We could see there's call to actions on there in the form of social, so people can go ahead and share it if they like it. Okay. It includes videos, it includes images, third-party sources. So it's a good post because, listen, it's engaging content. It's probably answering somebody's question about humanity. And we could see clearly that, look, there's a lot of different examples here from a lot of different sources, and we could take action on this content. So not just video, not just images, but text as well. And so it's very engaging, answers questions, takes into account the different types of content available. So this is a good post in that regard. So content's updated regularly, it's engaging, and it includes sources from high authority websites. Some do's and don'ts on the content. So take into account the best practices I mentioned about creating high quality content. Okay. Answer those questions that the end user wants to hear, because that likely is going to be their search. And so you want to be able to respond to the end user. That's part of creating high quality content. Different types of content, i.e. in the form of infographics or videos or text or images. You can add images from public domain sites. You can be relatable and use examples to clarify points, just like the BuzzFeed article. Simplify complex words. Don't use sophisticated language. Talk to your audience as if they were standing right in front of you. And use bullet points to exemplify your examples, your points. So some do's, the don'ts. Obviously, don't lift content. We don't want to lift content from another website. So that's plagiarism. So we want to have our own unique content. We also don't want to take images from other websites. And so if you do happen to find an image that works for your post and it's on somebody else's website, ideally that's not a good situation. But if you do happen to do that, then always give credit to the website. Okay, so if you took it from xyz.com, credit xyz.com for the image. And even put a link back. But ideally, you don't want to take images from other websites. Just as much as you don't want to take copy, you don't want to take images. Use your own imagery and content. But if you don't have imagery, then you can always go to stock photography. There are plenty of websites out there where you can sign up for a subscription, like Adobe Stock Images as an example. You can sign up for an account, and in some cases you can sign up for a free account and use stock imagery. Okay, don't give less information to your audience. Give your audience what they deserve, which is the information they're looking for. They're looking for the best banana bread recipes. Give them the best banana bread recipes. Incorporate your own images. Break it up with titles. Give them a good quality piece of content that they're going to be able to engage with. And so if you put long paragraphs in your content, then it's going to be less engaging. So try to avoid those long paragraphs. Remember, shorten up the paragraphs, keep the language simple, add in images, answer those questions, use third-party credible sources, but write it in your own words, and you should be on your way to creating good quality content. Okay, so now that we've talked about high quality content in order to get your pages ranked high on Google search, let's turn our attention to optimizing on-page elements and discuss some website level factors that are both going to help you rank high on Google search. So let's just do an overview of what we're talking about when we talk about on-page elements and website level factors. So optimizing on-page elements include a number of different things. But primarily, we're going to focus in on meta tags, also known as meta description tags, header tags, also known as title tags, and URLs. So those are just some of the on-page elements we want to be able to optimize using relevant keywords in order to rank high on Google search. We also want to take a look at some website factors that will affect our ranking on Google search. They include website architecture, having a secure website, having a sitemap, and taking a look at page speed. So all of those are some of the website factors we need to take into account in order to rank high on Google search. So title tag and meta description together are considered meta tags. So both play an important role in ranking high on Google. So we want to be able to write unique title and descriptions for each page on our website. When I say unique, that means the title and the meta description need to be different for every page on the website. And so if you're not quite sure what a title tag and a meta description tag is, if you go to search and just type in any particular search query, the title tag is what's going to show up here in bold, and then the description is going to show up below it, below the URL, and that's going to describe the page. So both of these meta tags are important because it describes what your page is all about, and that's what Google uses in the search results pages. So we want to be able to pay attention to the length of our meta tags. So if we go back to our search results pages, title tags are generally 65 characters. Meta description tags are generally 160 characters. So anything really longer than that, then what's going to happen is the meta description tag or the title tag will get truncated. And so if we look here, for example, we can see all of the title tags here fit the 65 character limit. But if you run over the character count on meta description, then Google is going to truncate the copy. So you want to stay within your parameters in order to avoid getting your content truncated. And so the other thing when we're writing title meta description tags, we want to minimize keyword repetition. So if we're optimizing for keyword, we don't want to necessarily just plug that keyword into the title tag and meta description multiple times. We want to make sure our title tags and meta descriptions are naturally written. So if somebody's typing for banana bread recipe with dried figs, we want to have a nice title tag and a description that is going to get somebody to respond based on their need. And so we definitely want to avoid keyword repetition, but we want to be able to use that keyword in the title tag. Because if you remember from the earlier segment, when we did the all in title syntax to find out exactly how many competitors were using that particular keyword, well, we obviously want to use that keyword in the title tag because, again, the title tag is an important factor when it comes to search engine results. So we want to use the keyword, but we want to avoid stuffing or using it repetitively in our title tag and our meta description. We want the title tag and the meta description to describe the page, sound natural, but also be engaging, because the point is we want people to click on our link and go to our website from search engines. So title tags with numbers tend to result in higher click-through rates. This is according to Moz. So for example, if you just put in a title tag that says learn digital marketing, well, that may work, but if you put a number in there like 5 easy ways to learn digital marketing, that might get somebody to click on your link and go to your website. So having questions in your meta tags can also increase your click-through rate. For example, if you just put learn the importance of first page rankings, not too bad, but again, generic. But if you put it into the form of a question, how to rank number 1 on Google, it's more action oriented. It's going to get somebody to resonate with the question that they have. And that may be their query, how to rank number 1 on Google. And so these techniques will help you get higher click-through rates. And so according to Backlinko, title tag with a keyword can improve site ranking. So remember, we want to include that keyword in the title tag. Even though we only have 65 characters, we want to include that keyword, but we want to avoid stuffing the keyword in there. We want to, again, make the title tag action-oriented, maybe with a number, maybe as a question, with the keyword in there once, naturally. Not easy to do, but that's the beauty of SEO. If you can follow these best practices and write a good title tag, then the chances of you improving in your search results are going to be greater. So having only one H1 tag in your post is going to be good. So remember, when somebody clicks on a link, so let's just say they do find a title tag engaging and they click on this link here and they go to that website, you want to start out with having that particular H1 tag, because the H1 tag, especially with the keyword in it, is going to signal to Google, hey, we're organizing our page, and because it's an H1 tag, it's important. We're structuring the page according to best practices. So having only one H1 tag in your post is definitely helpful. Having multiple tags, H tags in your post, help organize the page a lot better. So we want to add that targeted keyword in that tag, and your header tags should be relevant to the content. So if we go back to our example of the using dried figs with banana breads, well, the title says California fig banana bread. And remember the last segment when we were talking about high quality content? Well, look no further than including a video into our content. So not only will this video help keep the engagement high, but it breaks up the monotony of the page. And it's from a third-party source, so it adds credibility to the page. So adding a video based on the last segment of high-quality content definitely helps with ranking high on Google search. So following hierarchical structure, that means putting those H tags in there. H2 tags help break up the content. And we want to avoid repetition of H1 tags on your different web pages of your site, meaning don't just put the same H1 tag with the same keyword in it and keeping it blasé. We want to make those H1 tags exciting to read, but also used appropriately to break up the content. So remember, all white hat techniques. We want to avoid hidden tags. We want to avoid stuffing keywords. We want things to be natural. We don't want things to be forced. And your H1 tag should be 20 to 70 characters. Don't make long H1 tags. So if we go back to our page example, a short, sweet tag here, California fig banana bread. It's relevant to the content, it's short, sweet, and breaks up the monotony of the content. And more importantly, and again, any content you have on the page should always answer the user's intent. Remember, people are using search to answer questions, find information. Our content should be able to answer that for them. So, according to John Mueller, Senior Webmaster Trends Analyst at Google, header tags would definitely help Google for rankings in the search results. So we want to use header tags. So when it comes to URLs, we want to use hyphens and avoid underscores. So if we look at this URL here, this uses hyphens, fig and banana bread. So it's all broken up with hyphens. That's a best practice. Remember, canonical URLs. A canonical URL signals to Google this is the original content. So we want to use original content. And if you have multiple sources of content out there on, say, different websites, we want to use a canonical tag to signal to Google, this is the original content, please index this content. And it doesn't hurt to use a favicon in URL, meaning a small icon. It helps to break up the monotony and help your URL stand out. We can add targeted keywords in the URL. So again, looking at the URL here, I could see we're using targeted keyword as part of the URL structure. Fig and banana bread. And notice the H1 tag is fig banana bread. So it's all consistent and it flows naturally. URLs that are no longer existing, then we want to be able to set up a redirect for those URLs, meaning a 301 redirect is a server response for Google that says, hey, Google, this page is no longer available, but we permanently redirected it to this page, which is now available. So that's what a 301 redirect does. It helps signal to Google and all the other search engines that if the page is no longer there, that's fine. You're just going to go to this page. This is the page that's permanently there now. And another thing we want to do here is if you have mobile URLs, you want to include those in the sitemap. And we're going to hit on that in just a minute. But all URLs should be mobile friendly as well as desktop friendly, meaning take into account those best practices. Keep your URLs short, use hyphens, put the keyword in that URL, and make it easy to understand. Want to avoid capital letters in the URLs. The URLs are case sensitive, so go lowercase. You should always go lowercase on the URL. Readable URLs, again, the rule of thumb here is if you understand what the URL is, then Google's going to understand what the URL is. So the shorter the URL, the easier it is to read. The easier it is to read, the better chance you have to rank high on Google search. So according to Backlink 2, URLs that are shorter definitely help you rank. So we want to be able to shorten those URLs. Keep them short and sweet. Don't make them long and unreadable. So those are some optimized ways or on-page elements that help you optimize. Now we want to look at some website level factors that will help you optimize and rank high on Google search. So good site structure provides better crawling for search engine bots. And what do we mean by that? Well, we mean having your site organized in a fashion that Google's going to be able to find all the pages. So what do we mean by that? Create a logical hierarchy structure. So if you're selling shoes, you're going to have a home page, break the structure up into men's shoes, women's shoes, children's shoes. Then under men's shoes, you could have it by brand. It could be Nike, Puma, Adidas. On the women's side, it could be Nike, Puma, Adidas. On the child side, it could be Nike, Puma, Adidas. And so you want to keep the structure, flow, in a hierarchy. So we want to balance the amount of subcategories within each category. So the men's, if it has Nike, Puma, Adidas, the women should have Nike, Puma, Adidas. And so you want to code your site navigation in CSS or HTML, meaning we want to be able to use something that Google is going to be able to index. So most sites are built in HTML, and that's what Google likes to index. They like to index something that they could take back to their servers. And then more importantly, build a comprehensive structure for internal linking. So internal links mean that if you're on a site website, you should have natural links pointing to other pages on your website. So to keep the flow going. And we don't want to have unnatural inbound links. You always want to have natural internal links to keep the flow of the user going from one page to the other. So here I could see, as an example, all the ingredients in this recipe. Well, this has an internal link to another page on our site. And this happens to link to a page where somebody can buy the ingredient. So it's a natural internal link. So John Doherty of Credo has claimed that one of the biggest changes that he can make in fixing the Credo website is architecture. So for example, in Credo, John Doherty has increased the organic sessions by 74% and pages per session by 41%, just by changing the site architecture. So you'd be surprised by changing the site architecture what that will do to engagement. And so let's turn our attention to secure versus non-secure. So what we mean by that is securing your site. We want to make it sure that compliant with certain protocols. And so if we go back here, we can see that this particular site is compliant, it is secure. HTTPS means it has a secure license, meaning the site is secure. So Google likes secure versus non-secure. So non-secure would be HTTP. So we want HTTPS as our protocol. And what that means is just enabling SSL certificates. And that means when you enable an SSL certificate, that means your domain or your protocol is going to be turned to HTTPS. So Google prefers sites that are secure versus non-secure. So if you use HSTS as a protocol, that adds an extra layer of security over the HTTPS. And HSTS prevents cookie hijacking. So adding multiple layers of security always helps. In my opinion, if you have an HTTP website, a non-secure website, you should look into buying an SSL certificate, getting your sites flipped over to HTTPS, because what's going to happen is your URL structure is going to change. When your URL structure changes, Google's going to recognize that because they're going to index your site. And when they index your site, they're going to see those secure URLs. And that's going to work favorably in your favor and help you rank higher on Google search. So websites using secure or HTTPS have a higher chance of ranking higher. So HTTPS is a ranking signal because Google indexes those pages. So let's also talk about sitemaps. So sitemap is one of the most important ways to improve your website ranking. Why? Well, because sitemaps are a way to organize all your URLs into one file. So we're basically going to prioritize all our web pages in a sitemap. So if you go to any particular website and you type in sitemap XML, you're likely going to see all the pages on your website. So usually the sitemap is located in the root directory. So if I type in sitemap.xml, I'm going to be able to see all the pages in my root directory. And I can also prioritize them. I can also alert Google as to how often they change. And every page is going to have a date stamp associated with it. So Google can actually see how often it changes. So remember, we want our content to be updated frequently. So if content's not updated frequently or it's not fresh, then Google's going to see that date stamp, that last modification date. So we want to be able to make sure our content's updated frequently. We want to let Google know that we changed it frequently. And we want to be able to prioritize our pages, let Google know, hey, these pages are important to us. So all that can be set up in a sitemap. We want to be able to add canonical versions of URLs in the sitemap. So we want to be able to add all our original URLs in our sitemap. And so we always want to build dynamic URL sitemaps for larger websites. And what I mean by dynamic URLs, that means that if I look at this sitemap and we're always adding content, let's just say in the form of a blog, well, guess what? We want those pages to be added to the sitemap as they're published. So as we add pages to the blog or to the site, then they should automatically be added to the sitemap. And so in effect, what's going to happen is we're going to be able to see the sitemap grow with more URLs. When the sitemap grows with more URLs, then that means then Google's going to index more pages. They're going to index more fresh pages. So they're going to be able to get those pages that are just published quicker. So that's the whole idea behind dynamic sitemaps, is we want to be able to capture all the URLs just as they're published. And we want to be able to maintain our sitemaps. And so I would always recommend a dynamic sitemap, but you can always create your own sitemap just by going to a tool called XML Sitemap. So if I just type in XML Sitemaps into Google search, here I could see XML Sitemaps Generator, and I can be able, if I have a small website, just create a free and simple sitemap on my own. When XML Sitemaps creates it, or your platform creates a dynamic sitemap, either way, the sitemap's going to sit in the root directory. And then what we want to do in turn is let Google know where that sitemap is. So in Search Console, we want to be able to submit the sitemap. So you're going to add the sitemap, you're going to let Google know where it is. It should be in the root directory, and it should be called sitemap.xml. And when you do that, Google's going to be able to take those URLs and index them. So we could see we submitted 528 URLs, Google indexed 521. So one thing about URLs here is when we create a sitemap, we're putting all our URLs in there. We do not add no index URLs in your sitemap. And what that means is that any URL we don't want Google to index, we're just going to exclude from the sitemap. Okay, so we want Google to take all the URLs we want indexed and put them in the sitemap. So according to Edgy, using sitemaps for SEO can increase your website's visibility and help you get indexed. Why? Because what you're in effect doing is taking all your URLs that you want indexed, you're telling Google how often they're modified, you're telling Google which ones are important, and you're submitting that to Google. And so Google's going to be able to take all these URLs quicker, index them quicker, and when they're indexed quicker, you can get ranked quicker. And when you get ranked quicker, you can get traffic quicker. So that's the whole idea behind sitemaps. So let's turn our attention to page speed now. So one of the last factors for our website, besides architecture, making it secure, and adding sitemaps, is we want to take a look at how quick our pages load. Here are some tips in order to optimize page speed, because ideally the quicker a page loads, the more engaged the user is going to be. If it takes a longer time for the page to load all the elements of that page, then what's going to happen is the user is going to get impatient, maybe leave the website altogether or go to another page. And so we want to be able to optimize images. So any image that's of large size in terms of megabytes, we want to be able to optimize that, compress the image. So that's one way to speed up page speed. We want to use a simple website design. HTML with CSS or cascading style sheets. Just a simple design with simple hierarchy and website navigation structure. So nothing fancy, nothing complex, just a simple website design with optimized images. We want to leverage browser caching, and we want to upgrade the server response time, meaning all your files are sitting on the server. So when somebody goes to a web page, the server is serving up all of those files, the images, the text, etc. And so we want the server to respond as quick as possible. So when it comes to page speed, we can look at the factors affecting page speed in Google Analytics. So if I go to Google Analytics and I go under behavior and I go under site speed and I go to overview, I'm going to be able to see what my average load time is for my site. And ideally, we want our pages to load as quick as possible. So that means anything under 4 seconds. Anything 4 seconds or higher, and it's likely the end user is going to leave the page. There's a correlation between page load time and bounce rate. And so what Google actually does is give you speed suggestions. So if we do have a page that loads slow, we can just go to speed suggestions in Google Analytics. And we go to speed suggestions, then Google's going to be able to tell us, hey, this particular page load fast, this particular page loads slow, and if it loaded slow, why is it loading slow? So here we could see the home page, as an example, is loading on average of 7 seconds. Well, if we look here, they're going to give us some suggestions. So if I click on this page speed suggestions, it's going to load a report and a tool called Page Speed Insights. And basically what it's then going to do after it's done running is it's going to tell me all the ways in which I can optimize my pages. Not only for desktop, but also for mobile. So here I can see for desktop or for mobile, I can look at some ways in which I can optimize it to increase page speed. For example, sizing my images properly, server response time, reducing my server response time, avoiding multiple page redirects. So there's a lot of opportunities that we can do to speed up page load time. And all that's found in Page Speed Insights, and all that's found within Google Analytics. So remember, optimizing code, minimizing redirects, optimizing your images, upgrading your server response time, all of those are factors. And so again, you can go into Analytics, Page Speed Insights, and you can see exactly what Google is recognizing as what's lowering or slowing down your page load time. So Google takes site speed as one of the most important ranking factors. Why? Because they're going to rank pages not only with high quality content that are relevant to the keyword queries, but they want those pages to have a good user experience. So if somebody clicks on the page, then the user should be able to see that content fairly quickly. And so that's why it's such an important factor. So the quicker your pages load, the chances of you ranking higher are going to be better. So according to Web Performance Today, Walmart, as an example, experienced a decline in conversions. So what they did was looked at their page speed. And when they looked at their page speed, you'd be surprised what that did. Just increasing it from 1 to 4 seconds or decreasing it basically increased conversion. So there's always going to be a correlation between how quick a page loads and how engaged the user is. Because if the user is engaged, they're going to stay on the site. And if they stay on the site, then their chances of converting are going to be higher. So just even 1 to 2 seconds increase in page load time will make a world of difference in terms of engagement and conversions. Let's turn our attention to off-site engagement. So previously we talked about on-page elements and website factors that affect our rankings for search results, but we also need to turn our attention away from our website, meaning what we do on our website, and turn our attention what we can do for our website off our website and onto other websites. So that's off-site engagement. And so let's look at an example. So that ice cream recipes blog. So we did everything we possibly could. We updated the meta tags, the title tag, the meta description. We added H1 tags. We made sure the site architecture was sound. We submitted a sitemap. We made sure the page load was good and fast. So we did all the things we're supposed to do on our web page, but we're still not ranking. Well, what do we need to do? Well, we need to turn our attention away from our website into other websites. We call this off-site or off-page SEO. And we need to basically generate links from high-quality sites back to our site. So if we've done everything we can on our own website and we're still not ranking where we want to be, well, then we need to turn our attention to other websites. And so if we turn our attention to other websites and other websites that are relevant, other websites that are of quality, other websites that have high domain authority, then we're going to see an increase in rankings. So it's just a matter of getting quality links from quality websites that are relevant. That's what's going to move the needle on search after we've taken care of all the on-page elements. So more backlinks from high domain authority results in higher rankings. SEO is a combination between what we do on our website, meaning optimizing the page and making sure our website has good site architecture and follows the best practices in terms of sitemaps and page load. Then we need to turn our attention to the backlinking to improve our domain authority. So according to Backlinko analysis, off-site engagement is one of the most important elements for ranking #1 in Google. So you can't just focus your attention on updating the title tag and making sure the pages load fast. You have to turn your attention as well to getting backlinks from high-quality sites. That's off-site engagement. And so gaining links, backlinks from multiple domains is vital. It's vital because they bring referring traffic to your site. They bring credibility to your site. But more importantly, Google's going to recognize the relationship between these sites and your website. And if these sites that have backlinks or links pointing to your site, and if they're of high quality, then we call that passing link juice. So it's going to bring quality to you in terms of organic search. So if we look at an example, if I do a search for banana bread recipe, there are 241 billion results for banana bread recipe. Why did this particular page from Simply Recipes rank number 1? Well, we can turn our attention to Moz, and Moz has a report called Link Explorer. And so Moz's Link Explorer report helps us identify our own page authority, our own domain authority, and how many links we have from other quality websites. So if I put that particular URL into Link Explorer, and notice the URL here is short, even though it uses an underscore when it should use a hyphen, it's still ranked number 1. And why? Because off-page elements help this page rank number 1. Why? Their page authority out of 100 is 58. Their domain authority out of 100 is 82. And what does that mean? Well, that means that they have a lot of good links from other domains of high quality. They have 824 linking domains to this one domain. They have 3,600 inbound links, and they're ranking for a lot of different keywords. So if we scroll down, we're going to be able to see kind of a breakout, the quality of websites that are linking to them. So they have 19 domains with a domain authority of 91 to 100 linking to them. They have 15 domains between the range of 81 and 90. So what does that tell me? Between 15 and 19, that's 34 particular domains that are very high quality linking to them. And so we could see the breakout of the linking domains. We could see the top file links to the site, and we could see the page authority. So the Link Explorer report gives us an overview of what pages are linking to ours. And it also gives us an idea of what our own page authority and domain authority are. Because domain authority and page authority both need to be high in order for us to rank on Google search. And in order for it to get high, we need links from high quality sites. So that's the whole idea behind off-site engagement. So some of the off-site engagements are influencer marketing, meaning is there somebody out there on social who has a huge following? But not only do they have a huge following, but are they relevant to our product? For example, Usain Bolt, who's a famous sprinter. If we're selling shoes and we're selling Nike shoes, maybe Usain Bolt can reference us on Twitter or Facebook. That's influencer marketing, getting people to, influencing people to buy our product. We can engage with audiences on multiple social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter. Meaning, if we're running a promotion on those running shoes, then we can promote that on Facebook, okay? We can promote that on Twitter. We can also bookmark our webpage on popular bookmarking sites like StumbleUpon. We can also put our content on discussion forums like Reddit. We can join high PR quality Q&A sites, and post answers to questions related to our business like Quora.com. So we can engage in sharing our content and answering questions. So there's lots of ways to get links to your website. If you have a blog post as an example, you can make sure that maybe that content is shared on a similar blog post. So if you have an ice cream recipe blog post, well, maybe you can look at a dessert blog post and share your content on that particular blog post and have a backlink pointing from that blog post to yours as an example. And you can reciprocate. So the whole idea of content is sharing the content, but at the same time of sharing it, you're producing backlinks. And backlinks help domain authority. So not only do they help domain authority, but they improve the search rankings. So in Google's eyes, the higher your domain authority, higher the page authority. In Google's eyes, that means your page is important, it's credible, and we're going to improve it in the search engine rankings. It increases brand visibility. If we have our content on a highly engageable website, a highly popular website or a blog, It's going to lift our brand visibility. If we have Usain Bolt, who's a very famous sprinter, do some influence in marketing for us, then that's going to increase our brand visibility. So anytime we can associate with something that has some influence or some clout or high domain authority, then it's only going to increase our brand awareness and visibility. So again, it's going to increase our domain authority because of the association of passing link juice from one domain to another. It's going to then, as a result, increase referral traffic. Because if we're on a high quality website that gets a lot of traffic, then the chances of some of that traffic going to our site is going to be great. And again, it improves the credibility and trust of our website. And that's what we want. We want Google to trust us. And a way to build trust is by associating our website with other websites of equal or higher quality. So when we talk about offsite engagement, we want to do some guest posts on relevant websites. So if you have that ice cream blog, go to another blog like the dessert blog and do a guest post. So not only will that improve your brand awareness, but it'll generate a backlink and maybe drive some referral traffic. You can participate in forums and blog discussions like Quora.com or Reddit. Get your content out there. Start a discussion about a specific topic to engage users, build brand awareness, and generate that backlink. You can always put your site on a directory like Yelp, for example, or Yahoo directory. You could prefer testimonial link building, meaning if you serve products or offer up a service, well, somebody could provide a testimony on their website. Or you could just earn backlinks from relevant authoritative web pages like we mentioned Quora or Wikipedia, or there's plenty out there. So the idea is to associate yourself with high quality websites, but do it naturally. You don't want to force anything. So if you're selling a specific service or you're selling a specific product, look for like-minded services or products that complement what you do. And that'll create the natural environment, natural ecosystem that will eventually give you the benefits that you need to rank higher in the search results pages. So we don't want to purchase any links. We don't want to cloak content. We don't want to just inject links on sites that aren't relevant. We don't want to just have site-wide links all over the place pointing to the same page. And we certainly don't want to be on low-quality websites or directories. It's all about quality, not quantity, with off-site engagement. So having off-site engagement complements what you do on your website for on-site. Together, both of those efforts will get you higher search engine results. Let's go over some key takeaways for today's session. We started out with the keyword research. Remember, with the keyword research, it's all about relevancy combined with volume and low competition. So that combination is going to get you the keywords you need for on-page optimization. So use good tools at your disposal, like Google's Keyword Planner. Google's Keyword Planner is going to give you the volume you need. Use the all-entitled syntax on Google to get an idea of competition. Cluster your keywords together in themes like bread recipes. Look for a bunch of keywords related to bread recipes if that's what you're trying to optimize for. Pick the keywords that are going to generate high-quality content. So when you pick good keywords that generate high-quality content, then focus on that high-quality content. You want to start with a good title. You want to choose keywords that are going to complement the content, that you can work into the content naturally. You can, organize the content by using headers. You can write your content so it's going to be easy to understand. Write shorter paragraphs. Incorporate images, call-outs, videos. Mix it up a bit. Add CTAs in there. Make it engaging. Answer the user's questions. All of these are going to contribute to good quality content. Whole idea behind good quality content is to make sure your users are engaged, because the more engaged in the content, the better chance you have to rank on Google. So when you create content, that gives you the opportunity to optimize that content. And by optimizing, we mean working those keywords naturally into the meta tags, the title tag and the meta description. Work those keywords into the header. Make sure the header is short, sweet, concise, but powerful and makes sense. It's relevant to the content. Make sure the URL is short, but readable. And then we talked about off-page. So off-page elements for the website, meaning Submit the sitemap. Look in Google Analytics at page load time. Make sure your site's secure. And once you do all those things to your website, all those factors, then you could turn your entire attention to link building, off-site engagement. We talked about influencer marketing or social platforms or other websites that are going to not only provide a link, but they're going to give you credibility, brand awareness. They're going to refer traffic to your website, and then they're going to overall improve your domain and page authority. So all those factors combined are going to help you improve your search engine rankings. So thank you for attending. For more information, please visit simplylearn.com.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the SimplyLearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.